What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very special edition of the Burnout Brighter podcast. My name is Matt. I'll be your host for this evening's events. I'm joined, as always, by my wonderfully lovely co-host, Darren.
Infinite Darren.
Infinite Darren. Darren, I gotta say, pretty much over the course of the past month, you have been the constant. You were gone for a few months, and now Destiny and I are kind of like flip-flopping, taking turns hanging out with you by ourselves. Evidently, this is because of a feud that Destiny and I have going. As you alluded to last week, I'm not allowed to be in the trailer with her anymore. And we can't be on the show together. It's just this. The rest of this year is just going to be us trading places. It's
sorry.
like spouse swap, but you're the spouse that always stays.
Yeah, I didn't want to break it to you. I felt bad having to, tell our audience that, but the truth had to come out eventually. So sorry you did not make the trailer cut.
You know what? I'm just upset because okay, you know what? Listeners, I have to be honest with you. There's a very real reason why Destiny and I have been fighting. And that's actually because as much as I thought I was Mr. Midas's favorite, he keeps saying he's Team Destiny, and it keeps making me upset, and I've been taking it out on her, and it's just not been good. So, you know what? This is actually Midas's fault. So let's just put the blame on him because
Thanks,
he keeps whispering in my ear, but then telling everybody he's Team Destiny. I don't know what to believe anymore, Darren.
I'm sorry. But, in this feud, I had to try my best to make up for the fact that I was also a constant in the previous month, but the opposite of a constant appearance, a constant absence. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, then, if nothing, Darren, you are at least consistently inconsistent.
Thank you.
But on this week's show, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of news about some PSVR2, about some Mario Kart, about some E3. So strap in because it's going to be one hell of a ride. And this is episode 123. That's right.
Yes.
Our mental health series is on the way. By the time this goes live, the first episode will be debuting the following Monday. So if you're listening to us the week it comes out, the following Monday is when our first episode will go live, along with an episode coming every week after that for 2 or so months. So get ready. We've been recording them. We've been lining things up. We're all very, very excited about the episodes that we've done so far. And I know we have even more great stuff to come. So Destiny will be back in full force next week. This first of the year episode that we've delayed now a few times because one or the other of us keeps not showing up. will finally happen next week. And you know what, Darren, I have to say, you guys crushed it last week. I was listening to the podcast and I had a fantastic time listening. And it's funny because I was playing it over the speakers and Senna was like actually sitting here and she finished what she was doing beside me and then just stayed for the entirety of the rest of the podcast because she was having fun listening to it. I got to say, I think it was as much, Darren, as much as I loved Double D's Nuts, I think last week was the best ebb and flow that you guys have had. There was so much chemistry flying around. There was just good energy. You guys crushed it. It was an awesome listen. So listeners, if you haven't listened to it yet, make sure you go check it out. And I have a question for you, Darren, because there was something you said that you would do on last week's podcast. And like, granted, we're not going to do it right now, but I just want to know if you did it. Because you said that in this normal episode where it would have been the three of us on this week's show, you said you were going to go back and listen to our New Year's resolutions from last year's so that we can compare how successful or not we were. Did you complete your task, Darren?
Oh my god, I forgot. I didn't.
Well, it's a good thing you have one more week to do that. And you know what's funny? I was literally queuing up the podcast when I heard you say it, and I was like, nope. Darren's problem now. He has to take care of it. It's on him to do this for next week.
All right. Next week, I'll have to put a reminder in my calendar or something. Otherwise, I'm going to forget again. But I'll try. I have to make good on I promise to be better.
It's just so funny because like literally I was about to do it because I was like, okay, on this week's show I want to compare what we said, blah 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 blah, and then I heard your voice be like, yeah, I'll listen to the episode. I was like, damn right you will. Haha, passing the buck, relieving myself of responsibility by no fault of my own.
I'll do it.
Exactly. I believe in you, buddy. All right, Darren, let's jump in. What's new? What's been going on? What have you been playing? What have you been doing? How you been?
I am currently opening up my calendar on my phone to make good on watch episode on New Year's. You got to get and I put it for Saturday. There we go. 7 a.m. No, that's too early. 11 a.m. Good. All right. It's in my calendar. So to answer your, I did it. I had to do it. I genuinely am so forgetful.
Me too.
I've been good. I've been getting ready. I've been like ramping up to get back to work, and haven't really got a chance to play too much new. So what I have been doing is I got bit by the Final Fantasy 14 crafting bug again, where I spend genuine hours of my time traveling to different trees around Eorzea and whacking them with an axe to harvest their ingredients to get more, tree stuff and more ingredients to craft new things. Because I was like, I wanted, like, this is the first time I've ever been like current for a new expansion, so I wanted like the whole experience. I wanted to have my gear to raid, and then I wanted to have my, like, what's the word? I wanted to have like food buff, because you need buffs for raids. You need your gear and you need buffs. So I had I want to make food. I'm a culinarian. You and I both have this Final Fantasy 14 cookbook with us. So I want to also level up my culinarian in the game. But to do that, I need better gathering to find the better ingredients, and I need to level up my culinarian so that it can actually craft the higher level like food. And I tell you one thing though, regardless of how much grinding there is to get ready for a raid at first, because you have to get your gear ready, grinding for like trying to do end game crafting is so much worse. Oh my god. Like,
really?
Yeah, because like I said, genuinely hours of going from tree to tree to level up, and then to level up my crafter, I need to like just make a bunch of items a million times. And then once you're at max level, you have to now go grind some more to get scripts to turn in, to get materia to put into your gear. But you can't just fill your slots. No, you have to over meld them, which only has like a small percentage chance of working. And if it doesn't work, you lose the materia. You're probably going to lose a lot of materia. So you got to craft a lot of items to get a lot of materia so that you can finally get the mats. And maybe I'm just like dumb and I'm just not doing this efficiently. I've been trying to look up guides to do it fast, and it's just not, it's
just not
for me.
Do you enjoy this, Darren?
I do. I actually like it for some reason. I don't know why.
As long as you like it, that's all that matters.
There's just something relaxing about like sitting in a pretty little area, taking out a frying pan and making some rarefied spaghetti. Like, it's just...
Okay, well then there you go.
So I don't know. That's what it is. And I did actually do some raiding, and I beat the first 2 extreme trials of the new expansion. So that was cool.
Nice. That sounds good.
But yeah, that's... Oh, one other thing I have to say before I pass it on to you. The thing I wanted to tell you is I discovered in my Final Fantasy trials and travels and tribulations, there is a Netflix show called Dad of Light that is a Japanese drama about a father and son who reconnect over playing Final Fantasy 14.
Are you fucking with me right now? That's an actual show?
This is an actual show. I saw someone tweet about it, and I thought they were joking, and I looked it up. It's a real show. It's 8 episodes. Each episode is 24 minutes. And apparently it's based on a true story about a dad who quits his job, and his son thinks that he can use his character in Final Fantasy as a way to reconnect with him.
Is this a good... Did you watch this show?
I didn't, because I just found out about it literally sitting on the toilet 10 minutes before we recorded this.
This has like a 7 out of 10 on IMDb, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 85% of Google users like the show. Maybe there's something to the show, Darren.
I think I have to watch it. It's got tons of footage of the actual game, and it looks like it came out just after Heavensward, so it might also be kind of a neat time capsule to see what the game was like 6 years ago.
You should watch this, Darren, and then let us know what you think, because it sounds like a quick watch, and it also sounds like completely up your alley.
I think I'm going to have to watch it, as well as watching our podcast. Matt, how have you been doing? What is up with you?
It's been a roller coaster for a few weeks, my friend. Yeah, I missed last week's show because we got the good old Pandorama boosters, so we got completely leveled. I took this one much better than the last one. I was unwell for only about 24 hours to like 30 hours last time. Last time I was down for like 2 days. My partner Senna took it much worse. She was not feeling well. On top of dealing with a household COVID case, which has now been resolved. Everybody's well. Nobody, luckily, outside of the one person who was sick, nobody else caught it. So I basically, Darren, this is a long way of me saying that I had a lot of time to play games. And boy, games did I play. So back when we were doing Extra Life, I beat Death's Door. I entirely finished it on our Extra Life stream.
Nice.
Great game. A lot of fun. Combat's super satisfying. It's a good length. The writing is clever. Every time you beat a boss, you do like a eulogy for the boss and kind of actually learn a little bit about their backstory. It's actually a super great. Yeah, it's actually gave them a lot more depth than them just being, bad guy is bad. You kind of see what, and why they ended up as a villain. I really enjoyed it, despite it being about birds. Played Katamari Damacy reroll. And then we played some Resident Evil. And then we played some Resident Evil Village. We got past Lady Dimitrescu's castle, and I'm going to be going back to that on stream probably this week. I haven't touched it since because I started on stream. I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this on stream. Played The Forgotten City. That was a great game. Really enjoyed it. Did you play it yet, Darren? Because I know you picked it up. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
One sitting.
I didn't realize you can actually, it's that short.
I did it in like 4-ish hours, I want to say.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I did buy it. I did pick it up. I haven't played it yet. My mom's actually been using the PS4 to play it herself. And so she started it. I think she's been enjoying it. Yeah. But I haven't played it.
Yeah, for anybody who's looking for like a cool mystery, a mystery game, I literally knew next to nothing about it. I just knew it was like a mystery detective-like game, and I knew there's a lot of people really raving about it, and it's on Game Pass, so I decided to check it out. Really enjoyed it. I think the ending loses itself a little bit, and it's all. I just see my issue, Darren, and maybe this is just kind of with the genre as a whole. I have so much more fun with the process than I do the resolution most of the times in games like these. That it's like. It's very hard for me in like a detective-esque based game that I enjoy the ending as much as I did the ride there, because the ride to there is fantastic, and there's multiple endings. There's a lot of things that you can do differently, but it wasn't a bad ending by any means. I just had so much fun getting there that I was kind of like, okay, it ended.
I think that is pretty par for the course with a lot of these kinds of games, because I mean, you're trying to find a solution, but the most fun part about detective things is trying to solve it. So when it's over, you're always kind of like, oh man, it's all right. I guess it's over. And actually, that's why I want to shout out. And I know you haven't been able to play it because of genuine motion sickness, but that's why I like the Outer Wilds so much. It's a extremely similar concept to the Forgotten City, which I found out the Forgotten City actually predates Outer Wilds because it was originally a Skyrim mode.
Okay. All right, I didn't know that.
Full game. Yeah. But Outer Wilds resolution actually does live up to the process, in my opinion. And that's pretty rare for these kinds of games. And usually I just like the process. I mean, I like the process better, but I don't mind. I'm like, I just had fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed that. It's on Game Pass if you're curious to check it out. I platinumed both Marvel Spider-Man Remastered and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm not one for chasing plats, but I was like, you know what? After No Way Home, Spider-Man. I'm kind of feeling the spider bug. So I replayed the remastered because I never played the remastered. And goddamn, Darren, these games are so much better than I remember. I remember really, really liking them. But like, I just remember them being like, oh, it's a cool Spider-Man game. No, these are legit fucking fantastic games. Like, I don't know what it was. If maybe it's just like, again, time and place of when I played them initially. But like sitting down and just kind of really like immersing myself in them back to back. Fantastic. What a great set of games. Super excited for Spider-Man 2. And then I just, played. Darren, as of actually...
Oh, sorry. I still haven't played Miles Morales. I've been waiting for that PS5, and I want to play it really badly. As soon as I get my hands on a PS5, Miles Morales is going to be one of the first games I play. Because you're right. The Spider-Man Insomniac game is genuinely fantastic, and I know people love to talk about how great the original Spider-Man 2 video game is, but I guarantee you the Insomniac game probably blows it out of the water. I haven't replayed it, but I guarantee the Insomniac game is like the best Spider-Man game made.
Yeah, 100% easy. And like I remember when I initially beat Miles when it originally came out back when I got the PS5, I was like, you know what? I got the plat for the original Spider-Man. I'll get this one too, but it actually requires you to do New Game Plus. So at the time I was like, fuck no, am I doing that right now? I don't like to replay games generally. I very rarely replay games. But I was kind of, I was in the mood. So I did it and I really, really enjoyed it. Really loved it. And I just finished Horizon Zero Dawn. As of a couple hours ago.
Like that?
I beat it finally. It's fine. It's good. It's good. There are some very, very high highs that like when everything is clicking and running and shit is happening, it's a lot of fun. And some of those like fights are genuinely spectacular. And I enjoyed it a lot more playing it more like Monster Hunter than like a standard action game, which is how I originally approached it. Because when the game initially came out, I was playing Breath of the Wild and that at the same time, and my brain just couldn't land on the difference in play style, especially because like Breath of the Wild is very open. You can climb anything. Horizon's world is very definitively not. You're very much locked in your path, even in in an open world. So I really enjoyed it for what it was. I'm curious to jump into the Frozen Wilds. Are you
going to do the Frozen Wilds?
Yeah, because I got the Ultimate Edition Horizon game, so I have like the expansion, so I might as well. It's like only apparently like 6 or 7 hours, so
sure.
I'm curious because I mean with Forbidden West right around the corner. But yeah, like sometimes the combat didn't feel as precise as I wanted. Like sometimes I felt like I really rolled out of the way and I still got clobbered for half my health. Sometimes the writing was just laughingly laughingly bad. Like there are some really there are some big moments in the game that they really try and be like, look how emotional this is. This side character that you're supposed to really care about just lost someone important to them. He's crying. Isn't it sad? And the dialogue is just so cringeworthy at moments that I just genuinely, I was laughing and I shouldn't have been. But the combat's great. Aloy's a great character. The world is super interesting. I think that game, I really think that the Forbidden West is going to be the kind of Uncharted 2 to, Zero Dawn's Uncharted 1. I really do feel like Forbidden West stands a chance to be a big jump in quality, a big jump in kind of, the quality of life and its combat and its traversal, because I think that was one of my least favorite things about Zero Dawn is how clunky and slow the traversal is. If you fast traveling around the world, requires resources, which aren't expensive, but still until you unlock the unlimited way to do so. And then on top of that, even if you fast travel, if there isn't somewhere nearby that you can there isn't a creature you can override, you're just stuck fucking running the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And Zero Dawn did the same thing that pissed me off with Control, which is the ending is just a massive clusterfuck of here are all these enemies thrown at you, and that's all it is. There's nothing else to it. I thought the final mission was incredibly lackluster.
Really?
There's the first section the first section, and spoilers for Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm not going to give any narrative stuff away, but
it's been out for so long.
The first part of that final mission is literally just standing there with a cannon and just fighting waves of enemies who are the same enemies over and over and over again until they start fucking flying at you. And then you're still the best way to do it is to use this cannons. You're just getting bombarded from every direction. Then you have a fucking, I shit you not, a 3-minute run to the next spot, which is the final area of the game. And then it's the same kind of monster or that you just fought 4 of them with a bunch of added monsters thrown in. It's just there needs to be something more than just here are all these enemies, kill them. And I feel this isn't a unique problem to Zero Dawn, nor was it to Control. No. I think that just for both this and Control, there's so much awesome buildup for it, the finale to just be here's all the shit thrown at you, good fucking luck. That it's just just wasn't that fun. I don't know, Darren. Am I off base here?
No, I think you have something with that. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is one of those games where, unfortunately, the like you have some good characters, but what helps Horizon Zero Dawn a lot is it's really strong. It's got a really strong like plot and lore. Like I think the plot is really interesting, and I think the lore of the world and the world itself is really interesting. But yeah, like the characters and the writing is kind of lackluster. Thankfully, it's so unique a world that it's okay. And the build up of like growing from someone who's just getting out fighting smaller creatures to the power fantasy of being able to take down these massive creatures is very engaging. There's like a lot of good progression. So I can see what you'd be saying about like the finale being kind of boring, because it's like, I mean, it's nothing special. It's just fighting things you've fought before, but more of them. And I also generally don't like that kind of a final boss fight either.
And I think you hit something there too, Darren, that I actually just realized. I don't get, outside of Aloy, I don't A, remember, and I just finished, or B, care about a single one of the other characters.
Yeah.
Like,
don't.
None of them are inherently memorable. None of them are that likable. It's like I have this weird like narrative dissonance with the way that the characters speak, which is like some of them speak like somebody you talk to at a bar, and some of them speak like with this very like hard tone. Like even like I forgot the guy's name. Your Roost. What the hell's his name? The main guy that it raises you.
I cannot remember, but like for a second.
Regardless, he has this like almost like primitive which is how they're selling the world, like speech pattern. And then you talk to somebody else and it's like a dude you'd speak to at a bar now. It's just like, I don't know. I think that like the monster design is so spectacular and some of those fights are so incredible. And like you said, the world itself is it's so rich in what it is. The rest of it around it, I'm kind of like,
yeah, that's fair.
But I'm excited to see what comes next, because I genuinely do think that like I've heard good things about the expansion, and I really do believe that the next one is going to be like a big step up in terms of quality and in terms of like what it is. Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited for that to come. So I mean, I guess we'll see, Darren. But everybody knows that right now it's just a big old holding pattern for backlog catch up for what will be the absolute shit show that is February. Along with the possible shit show that will be Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I'm still excited about at the end of this month. But without further ado, Darren, using this Horizon as a bedrock to segue, because let's talk about a bunch of news. We're going to start with one of my favorite news topics of this week, and something that I'm incredibly excited for, and I'm genuinely excited to hear what your thoughts are about it. Pulling from IGN, written by Taylor Lyles. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Taylor. Lyles. I'm going to run with Lyles. Sony confirms its next VR headset is called PSVR2. During its CES 2022 press conference, Sony shared new details on its upcoming successor to the PSVR, confirming that the PSVR2 is the official name of the next-gen head-mounted display. We also went on to learn about the new Sense controllers, which will offer things such as haptic feedback, which is something that we've seen in the DualSense controller. It's going to have an OLED display with a 2000 by 2040 per eye panel resolution. The headset will also support between 90 hertz and 120 hertz with a field of view approximately 110 degrees. Also 4 cameras on the headset for eye tracking, which means you're not going to need your PSVR camera to play this. It's just going to be everything in the headset, and a single USB-C type plugin, with the first game that we've seen, Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is co-developed by Guerrilla Games and Firesprite Games, which was just acquired by PlayStation last September, but it's being built specifically for PSVR 2. We still do not know when it's coming. We still do not know its price point. We still haven't actually seen the headset, but we do have confirmation of a number of its specs, and along with what the controllers look like, which we've seen mid last year. Darren, before I jump into this, you own a PSVR. We're both fans of our PSVR. What did the news of PSVR 2 do to you, and how do you feel? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Where are your thoughts at on PSVR 2?
I like the way that you phrased like, what did it do to you? What did this news do to you? Did it hurt you?
Exactly.
Did it make you excited? It did a lot of things that I can't talk about because they're not PG.
Fair enough. Good thing we're not a PG podcast. So tell us your feelings. What did it
do? No, so I think I did get very excited. Like I think Sony announced everything that I kind of wanted out of it. Like there wasn't anything that disappointed me about the announcement. I know some people were like, oh, they kind of confirmed that it's going to be wired based on the specifications. If you look at the specs, they didn't mention that it was wireless. Whereas they mentioned the controllers were wireless. So you think that they probably also mentioned if the headset was, but like that doesn't bother me. I think I don't want to make promises, but I feel like I also have to go back to the episode where we were talking about predictions for PSVR. I think I predicted that it was going to be wired. And I think that I'm very happy I made that prediction, because the problem is like this headset is they're trying to make it really high tech, right? And at the same time, they're trying to make it not like a complete like battery destroyer. If you want high tech equipment, you can't put a battery in it because the battery's just going to drain too quickly. So I think they made the right call making it wired, because guess what they put in it? They put in 4K. They put in inside out tracking. They put in OLED. They put in like all this stuff that basically everybody wants out of a headset. Minus maybe like, I know there are some people that still are really into like the sensor tracking on the outside because it is the most accurate form of tracking. But like, I don't think that's ever going to catch on. I don't think you'll ever have people that are like totally willing to accept I have to place frickin' sensors all over my room to get
cameras around. Yeah.
Like people accept it. It's just never going to go mainstream.
No.
And so like the controllers that we've already known about for a while sound also good. They've got touch sensitive buttons. They've got like, they gave us the full button layout. It sounds like it's actually got less buttons than the Move controllers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it matters because sure it's got sticks now. Yeah, like I don't think they needed as many buttons as the Move controllers, because some of those buttons were just making up for the fact that there was no sticks on the controllers.
So it looks like it has the sticks. It has the triangle square on your left, the circle X on your right, with stuff on your fingers for like, it has the triggers on the back.
Probably two triggers.
So in terms
like L1, R1.
In terms of its like amount of buttons, it does seem to be roughly about the same. But no, it definitely has less, because you're right. The PS Move controllers have all four on each. The X, cross, square, circle, Y, circle, triangle. So I do think that this is going to have less. It's just, I also think that the button layout, it looks much better on these.
Does it have two controllers? Does the new controllers have two triggers?
Let me see here. I can see it looks like there's one on your finger, and there's another like on your palm almost. If that makes sense. Then
I might be wrong. Actually,
it's not not like two like this. It's like one here and one on the side of the controller. If I'm explaining this properly,
it might be about the same. I can't remember how that evens out.
Because these are drastically different than the Move controllers. Like these look a lot more like the Oculus controllers or the Vive controllers. Which ones are these reminding me of, Darren?
The Oculus controllers.
One of the two. Oculus, thank you.
Or maybe Vive. I think Vive has no. It's Oculus with that. It has like the weird circle wraparound thing. No, it's just a great announcement, and I'm just really happy that it seems like Sony is still putting VR in like the forefront. And the only thing, I know this is such like a stupid thing, but like I am kind of disappointed they didn't show us what the headset looks like. They've literally told us like everything else about it. Like, why don't you just? I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see that it's real. Probably they haven't like fully confirmed the exact design of it yet. And I think I predicted that it was going to come out. I might have predicted it was going to come out last year, which was really stupid. Or no, I predicted that they were going to show it off last year, but they didn't. And then they showed it off this year. I don't think it's going to come out this year, unfortunately.
See, I don't know. Okay, so a couple things from my side of it. I think you're right. I think that them using a wire makes a lot of sense because on top of all the things that you said that make perfect sense, a battery also just A takes up space and B adds weight to the entire thing. And that was one of my favorite things about the PSVR is how light and it's fun and like its form factor, because it is incredible. In my opinion, it is by far the most comfortable out of all the headsets that I've tried. We just recently went to like a VR arcade just a few months ago, and we used Vives, right, Darren? Those were Vives that we were using.
Yeah, it's Vives
at the VR arcade. Those were heavy, and my neck genuinely was like bugging me by the end of it. Like we spent a couple hours there, which had never happened to me with my PSVR. So like I'm glad. Like I don't mind a single cable, a single USB-C. I think is a completely rational ask. Because on top of that, Darren, I have a strong worry that this thing is going to be fucking expensive. Given the tech and so given that the controllers that are coming with it, I think this is going to be Canadian as a bundle, at least. Like if I remember correctly, the bundle for the OG, which came with the camera, the headset, the 2 Move controllers, and the demo disc, was like 800 Canadian after tax. I wouldn't be surprised if this
700-ish. It was like between 700 and 800. It was like 720 or something.
I think after tax, this could easily be $1,000. I think after tax, this will easily be $1,000 Canadian. I think they might want to try and go a little bit underneath, but like, see, I really love everything that I'm hearing. Especially the stuff with like the foveated lenses too, if I'm pronouncing that properly, where like depending on where you're looking, the frame rate will change around you to enhance what you're looking at, which I really hope will make eye tracking in terms of people. Exactly. So I hope that makes a difference for people who might have, for people who might deal with motion sickness and stuff. I hope that makes a difference for them, because like you're not going to need a camera. It's going to be tracking you much better. I like the look of the controllers. I'm very excited about everything that they're doing with this, but my main concern right now is twofold. A, price, because it's going to be a costly buy-in. I'm worried that PlayStation is going to look at the sales of this thing, because I do think it's going to come out this year. I think if everything kind of stays on track, we could very easily see this being like a October, November launch this year. Wouldn't surprise me if it slips to next year, but I could see a world where this does come out this year. I'm nervous that they're going to look at initial sales numbers, which probably won't be that high, not only because it's going to be an expensive product, but not enough people are going to have PS5s who, even if they do want to jump in, they will first need a PS5 to be able to jump in. So I'm curious to see how that's going to shake out. Along the lines of also backwards compatibility, given how this is an entirely new tracking method, I wonder how backwards compatible your OG PSVR games are going to be. Just because I wonder how much development would have to go into kind of bringing them all up to snuff to this new headset, given now it's a different tracking system. It's a different, the controllers are different. Everything about it's different. It's not just here's a new controller. I can imagine there being a bunch of VR games that won't work on PSVR2 that did on PSVR1. And the other thing that I'm very curious about, and I have 2 theories for this, Darren. I want to tell you them, and I want you to tell me what you think about my theories.
Okay.
My biggest concern with this is first-party support. I'm very curious because that was kind of what eventually, let's quote unquote, killed PSVR, is there was a bunch of stuff initially, and we got some cool stuff over its lifespan, but then there was a very clear line of being like, there is nothing more that PlayStation themselves are doing to support PSVR anymore. It kind of fell to their wayside. Now I'm of 2 minds of that. The first being they sold what they wanted to sell, if not more, for their original PSVR, and they're like, let's go full board into this next one. Let's put all of the resources into developing this next one, so this next one's going to be fantastic. That's my optimistic viewpoint. That's my hopeful viewpoint. That's why we saw less games start coming to PSVR, is because they started to get ready for what would be PSVR 2. My much more pessimistic side is, no, it's costly. It costs a lot. Maybe they weren't seeing the sales that they wanted to. But then, like, why go for this? I don't know, Darren. Where am I at? Where are you at with this? Where do you think the support's going to be like for PSVR 2?
Well, my first question is, how many first-party games were actually on PSVR 1?
Let me check.
Because I don't think
because we had stuff because we had stuff from like what's it called? We had like London, Moss, right? We had like Blood London, and Truth.
I think Moss counted as first party. I don't know if it did though.
Did it?
I don't remember.
Astrobot,
Oh yeah.
obviously. I'm trying to see what else here. Blood and Truth.
I think it's just basically Blood and Truth and Astrobot. Because like
Concrete Genie, kind of like
that was like a
wasn't
VR
like
mode.
specifically a VR. Yeah, exactly. Was Iron Man first party?
Maybe.
Drive Club and Dreams.
Yeah.
There was Drive Club VR and there was Dreams. Everybody's Golf VR as well.
Something called Anyone's Diary.
Nice, whatever that is.
Bound was published
Gran
by Sony.
Turismo Sport.
Dreams, I guess.
Well, yeah, because I mean, pretty much all like there's a lot that you can do in Dreams there, right?
Yeah. See, it seems like because I'm looking at the list, and yeah, there were very few actual Sony developed VR games. Like, basically.
So sorry, very quickly. Iron Man was in house. It seems it was Camouflage. I don't know if they're first party, but Sony published it at least.
Yeah, and then you could also maybe say, well, actually, no. I think there's a VR mode on PC as well for No Man's Sky. But yeah, it seems like what happened with PSVR, Sony never developed anything in house. Really, it was mostly them publishing other developers to make their games. They never actually went out the gate with a first party game. I'm going to actually be more positive about this than I think you are, because Sony never came out the gate with a first party game with PSVR 1. Their big thing that came out was Resident Evil 7. And that was a Capcom game that Sony obviously gave them the money to try and like help make it a VR game. But this time around, they're actually confident enough that they're getting Guerrilla Games to make a Horizon game for PSVR 2. Like, that shows how important this is to them. And I don't think for a second that they are under the impression that they're going to make like a crap ton of sales right out the gate. Like, they have to know that it's not going to be huge at the start. The same thing happened. The people were saying the same thing when PSVR came out. They're like, oh, I don't know if Sony's going to really like these sales. But then Sony came out and they're like, no, we knew it wasn't going to sell like amazing. It's something that's very expensive. It's very niche. We're just doing this to test the waters. And if it turns out to be as expensive as it's looking to be, I guarantee you they're probably going to be trying to make a profit off of it. They're not going to be selling this at a loss. I think it costs too much for them to try and sell it at a loss. They're probably going to make a profit. So every sale is going to go back to them. I think that, again, this is a slow ramp up. If the sales for PS5 continue like they're doing, PS5 is going to be an incredibly well-selling console. And PSVR, despite it also being quite expensive at the time, $700 something, $800, still sold better than any other VR headset. And I'm predicting something similar with PSVR 2 for the sole reason you don't need a $3,000 computer to run it. And now I know you don't need that either with Oculus Quest. With Quest, you can do it wherever you want. You don't need a computer at all. And it's very cheap. But I do think consumers that have PS5s are going to say, I could get a Quest and it could be cheap, but this is the best. This over here, this is the Lamborghini of VR headsets, and I can get a better experience, and I don't need a strong PC to play it. And I think that's what Sony is thinking about, and I think that as long as they push out the software, I can see this being quite successful. And I've already heard rumors that Half-Life Alyx is coming, so it's like you've already got a whole cornucopia of games that have already come out on other platforms that can now be ported properly because they have better controllers, they have better hardware. And a lot of these games, last thing I'll say before I pass it back off to you is, you said you weren't sure about backwards compatibility. I do think that is something that is, valid to be concerned about. but I think at the same time, a lot of these games that are on PSVR also have VR versions on other platforms. So I
Fair.
don't think it would be that complicated to port again. It'll probably be a situation where like you're not going to have innate backwards compatibility. I don't think you will have innate backwards compatibility, but I do also see a lot of developers just porting games over themselves because I can't imagine it'll be too difficult. Since if they have another version of earthquake, if they have another version of the game on another platform, I could see them porting it without too much effort.
I think you make a good point. I think especially how hard they seem to be going with this. Like I saw a lot of people just on the PS5 subreddit, not even the PSVR subreddit, that are be like, "Oh crap, I might need to dive in now." I think it was one of those things where a lot of people were watching what PSVR was and watching VR as a whole, and now kind of I think this will be a lot of people's kind of jumping in point. Let's talk a little bit about Horizon Call of the Mountain, because I'm curious, Darren. Do you think this is going to be a full open world, not necessarily to the possibly to the size of Zero Dawn, but do you think this is going to be like here's your bow and arrow, run around, fight these monsters, or do you think this is going to be like a more linear experience? Where are your thoughts on landing on Call of the Mountain? Like, do you think this is going to be a full proper Horizon, or is this going to be like a Horizon experience, if that makes sense?
I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's going to be a full game. I think it's going to be a full game. Like, it's not going to be just an experience like Batman Arkham VR or something like that. Like, I think it's going to be a proper game that has like real true gameplay and like progression and stuff like that. But I also don't think it's going to be anywhere near as open as actual Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it's going to be very level based. It's going to be something probably closer to like Uncharted, where it's going to be a guided experience, but it will feel like a full game. That's what I'm predicting.
And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I just don't want this to be like an on rails, like you're on a Horizon roller coaster shooting different animals as you go kind of thing. Cause like, that's what, the PSVR suffered a lot from those kinds of experiences. And not to say that all of those were bad, not to say all of those were good, but you do want something different. If they're kind of going this hard with it, you would hope that it's going to be something along the lines of a Half-Life Alyx, that you're able to play Alyx, there.
You son of a bitch.
And like, I'm 100% confident that that's going to come day and date alongside Horizon. I think like if you're making a use case of, here's Half-Life Alyx and Horizon Call of the Mountain, here are your launch titles. I think that's a pretty easy sell for a lot of people to hop in.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see more from this. We got a very short trailer, and god damn it, that looks fucking beautiful though. Those graphics,
it does look really good.
Incredible. So if they're able to kind of keep up that level of quality throughout the entirety of the game, I am incredibly excited for it. So the last thing I want to ask you, Darren, before we mosey off of VR and Alyx, well, there have been reports, there have been rumors, there's been stuff going around that PlayStation approached a number of its kind of first party developers and said, if you can put a VR mode into your game, that would be great. Like, make it playable. Just like Resident Evil 7 was, make it playable, on VR and off VR. If that is true, let's put on our thinking caps here for a second and assume that is true. What first party games do you think we're going to start seeing this with? Like, where do you think this is going to come from?
I'm glad you said what first party games, because if you're not counting first party, I'm like, come on, Capcom, announce VR for Resident Evil 8 already. Like, do it.
Right.
Like, please, I want Village in VR.
Right.
But for first party, I think if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Insomniac, and it's going to be Spider-Man. I think Insomniac is going to do a Spider-Man VR, because Insomniac is that what you were going to say? Or am I just getting your hopes up and you're like real sad because you don't want to have your hopes up too high?
My hopes are so high.
Because Insomniac has the tech. They have the pipeline. They have the competence as a studio to have a very well done VR mode added onto one of their games.
You really think so, Abe? I just don't know if I would agree with you normally. I just don't know if between Spider-Man and Wolverine that they might not be too busy already.
Yeah.
But I would obviously be overjoyed, whether it's Spider-Man or whether it's Wolverine, whether that's because Wolverine is earlier on in development, they're able to kind of build from the ground up a little more for it. Especially like I would imagine Wolverine's going to be a much more God of War / Uncharted-esque experience compared to your open world with Spider-Man. I can totally see that. I think Ghost of Tsushima is a pretty easy sell.
That's a cool one too.
I think cool those first-person samurai battles in that world,
VR sword combat,
especially because that's what I'm saying. I think that it's entirely possible that we get Ghost of Tsushima 2 that has a VR mode or whatever on. I would love to say God of War, but if it is God of War, I think what it might be is something along the lines of like an Astrobot VR where you're kind of in the world. Kratos still controls third person. Yeah, you're just kind of there in it. I don't think you'll have something as like finite as like, oh, I can actually throw the axe and catch it again with my hand. I don't think it'd be anything that far in. But I kind of think that like Ghost of Tsushima, I think Insomniac is a good call, but whether it's Spider-Man or Wolverine, I think God of War is possible. I think it's possible.
Maybe Naughty Dog, but they take a really long time to get things done, and they don't have as efficient a based on the stories that we've heard of crunch at their office. I don't think they have the kind of pipeline to really accommodate just like a VR mode all of a sudden. Although Last of Us, I think, would have an interesting VR mode.
Oh my god, yeah, there's just pain right up in your face. Do you think this rumored new Uncharted game could be this? Because that's not being developed by Naughty Dog.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
There's rumors that fucking San Diego, the studio that does MLB The Show, are working on have a second team now that are working on a new Uncharted game. With like Naughty Dog kind of like not working on it, but maybe like kind of overseeing and helping, but not like primary developers.
Then I could see that. Yeah, I think that's a good candidate too, because it's not Naughty Dog. It's still Uncharted. It's still recognizable. You could be like Uncharted VR. Yeah, that sounds like a strong business decision.
Especially because like Uncharted was there for the Vita, it's been there for PS3, it's been there for PS4, it's going to be here on PS5. I feel like they've I was shocked that there wasn't anything Uncharted related on PSVR1. Maybe they're saving it. But Darren, very last thing before we move away from this, when is this thing coming out? Where's your dollars to donuts? When do you think it's coming?
I have this feeling it's not coming out this year. I don't know why. Because this is a prediction where I don't think I would fault anyone for thinking it's going to come out this year, because I think I'm actually going to be wrong by predicting it's not coming out this year. I think I'm predicting wrong, but I think for some reason there's something telling me, just like pandemic and stuff like that.
Your gut.
I think it's going to be early 2023, like February, March 2023.
Okay. I think you're probably right, but my heart of hearts,
I'm not.
My mystical elf wants me really to believe that it's this year. I think like a November launch for this is a pretty sweet spot for it. Now, granted, this is chip shortages and everything aside, especially just because of how hard it is to get a PS5 right now. I can imagine that like I could see them maybe wanting to a little bit to wait to release this so that way people can get PS5 more readily and then hopefully be able to jump on this. But I would love to believe that it's this year. I really want it to be this year. I really think that November is possible. It just depends on how the rest of the world looks like over the next series of months. But Darren, let's keep this train rolling. Let's talk about Mario Kart. Let's hop over from some PlayStation to some Mario Kart. This is written by Jared Moore, again, over at IGN. Mario Kart 9 is reportedly in development, quote unquote, with a new twist. According to an industry analyst, Mario Kart 9 is currently in active development, will have a new racing twist, and could be teased this year. The speculation surrounding the game comes from Tokyo-based industry analyst Dr. Sirkin Toto, who, when writing his predictions for the upcoming year for GamesIndustry.biz, said that a new entry in the beloved racing series is on the way. I am aware Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling very well on the Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development. He said before saying that Nintendo could tease their next entry of their franchise this year. So the thing that a lot of people are focusing on is this new twist, Darren. And I'm there's some people online who have some theories and some suggestions. Apparently, some people are saying that it could be a more like F1 centric take which could probably be like it's going to be less sim and a little bit more not realistic. That's not the right way to say it, but like there's going to be a damage system to the carts. There's different kind of lanes that you're going to have to focus on a little bit more. But Darren, what I want to know is what do you think this new twist is going to be? Because we both love Mario Kart. We're big fans. We especially the last entry I know is one of your favorites. What do you think this twist is going to be with Mario Kart 9? They've done Double Dash, they've done multiple racers, they've done a bunch of stuff. What do you think it is?
Good question. I have this feeling deep inside that the twist is going to be that it's going to be very similar to one of my favorite racing games, Diddy Kong Racing, where you will have different vehicle types. And I'm not just talking motorcycles and carts. I'm talking planes and hovercrafts. So tracks will have different ways to traverse. So rather than having like anti-gravity and gliders, there'll be actual flying or maybe some actual like submarine races. So that's where I think the twist might come, because I don't see Nintendo adding like a damage system, because I think one of the benefits of Mario Kart is that it's not that competitive and there's always a way to catch up. And I think having like damage and possibly breaking your vehicle or something would go against the idea of like always having a chance to catch up, because I feel like the punishment for crashing would have to be pretty severe. I mean, it doesn't have to be severe, but then it's like, then what's the point of even including it? So
what's
it's
the point?
Like that's my prediction. I don't know. What about you?
I think you're spot on, dude. That's actually exactly what I was going to say. I think we're going to see some planes. I think we're going to see some hovercraft. I think we're going to see some things. I also wouldn't be surprised if we get a bit of a hub world, something like a la
more
Mod Nation Racers.
Yeah, some kind of single player thing or something like that.
Yeah, I could see there being a bit of a hub world where you kind of, you drive around to different things. I don't think it's going to be massive. I don't think it's going to be like an open world by any stretch of the imagination. But I kind of feel like there might be a hub world where you can collect certain unlockables. You can find some collectibles, like depending on which kind of thing you're going to use, you'll be able to kind of explore new areas of it. Like I don't think they're going to go anything like too full board. But I can see there being a hub world, if not a few hub worlds that are kind of like, here's the desert hub world, here's this hub world where you might be able to interact a little bit differently. Just because like, I think there might actually be a bit of like an actual story mode as well, given that what we've seen with the Mario sports games as of late, and I'm kind of lumping Mario Kart as a Mario sports game. With tennis and with golf, they both had like a dedicated single player mode. We're not talking about the quality of that dedicated single player mode, but they were there. So I think you will still have stuff like your cups, your normal races, but I think they might try and add in like some sort of like quote unquote story.
Yeah, I tell you, I sure hope that the people developing Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart 9 are not the same team that makes the golf and tennis games, because they like, no offense to them, but they feel like devoid of life. Like the old sports games, like tennis on the GameCube and like golf on the GameCube, they felt like they had character. The stages had like mushrooms growing out of them, and there was like weird obstacles, and it was like super colorful. But like for some reason recently on the Switch, Mario Tennis and Mario Golf have been scaled back to feel more like realistic almost. Like not obviously in the play style, but like in the vibe. Like rather than having a course inside a jungle where like there's poisonous like stuff around you and the stage is like alive, it's like normal courses with a jungle background, or like a court with just like regular and like the characters are wearing like normal tennis clothes and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, get out of here. I want weird, wacky
get weird
crap.
with it. It's Nintendo. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope that, whoever developed it last time around, because, I know a lot of people really, really love this entry, and given by their sales, like they completely knocked it out of the park. I hope we have a bit of a more robust offering when it comes to its tracks and everything else. And I really hope that Nintendo doesn't do what Nintendo's been doing with a lot of these games, is here's like a little bit, and we promise there will be more, maybe. We say there will be more, but there might be. I hope they wouldn't play around with Mario Kart in such a significant way, because this is pretty much one of their biggest, tentpole franchises, regardless of Mario or not. So I'm hoping we get some cool stuff with it. And I hope we get some cool guest characters. I think why not? The world loves crossovers right now. Give me some Mega Man. Give me some Dante from Devil May Cry. Give me
I
some
keep
Bloodborne. You know,
I mean, I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that I keep saying that Nintendo needs to make Mario Kart a little bit more like Smash Bros, where they have at the very least some like more Zelda influenced stuff, some Star Fox influenced stuff, some Metroid influenced stuff, like, and that would make new vehicles cool. Like picture like a space race where you're in R-wings, or like like a Metroid based like lava race where you're in these like submarines going through like freaking Magmore
in
or
Morph
something like that.
Balls.
In Morph Balls. That'd be cool.
So yeah, no, I'm curious to see what's going to happen from it. Which I mean, if this industry insider is to be believed, we will see our first bit of it next, this year, which I guess means it's coming out in 2027. If Nintendo's calendars are anything to be shown. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is a bit of a sad story and a bit of a confusing one, but I feel like we needed to touch on it because it is an important one for the industry. Written by Rebecca Valentine over at IGN, E3 2022 cancels in-person event while digital show remains uncertain. I'm going to read a bit of this because they've actually been, Rebecca tweeted about this afterwards, talking about how they've actually been digging into the story for months, and it does seem like there's something more going on than just, oh no, pandemic, E3, in-person has been canceled. So Rebecca writes, the ESA has canceled its in-person event for E3 2022, according to a statement shared with IGN by the ESA. But while they point to upcoming announcements, the future of the show this year and beyond remains unclear. Due to ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. And they basically go on to say, but I'm going to drop a little bit further on. It actually says, meanwhile, E3's future has been a question mark for some time now. In 2022, its 2022 show never had firm dates set and was never official on the LACC calendar, despite past shows, physical and digitals, being scheduled over a year in advance. So I'm going to make sure we link this in the show notes because I do think it's an interesting article. But Rebecca goes on to write, apparently, they kind of gave up whatever dates that they had months ago. It seems like this physical thing was not going to happen regardless of what was going on. And it seems now that there's a number of, publishers and developers who are really not that keen on being there. And Darren, this makes me upset because E3 has something that is something that you and I have looked forward to for years and years and years. We used to watch it back, on TV when that was the thing. And we got to cover it last year as an outlet. We got to be at the digital E3. And to be fair, it was kind of shit.
Yeah,
E3 last year
say.
was not great. The digital infrastructure was horrible. The being able to interact with the developers and everything was next to impossible. The showcases themselves largely were a waste. Xbox was a landslide leader outside of things like Guerrilla Collective and Black Voices in Gaming. There was some really interesting stuff, but as a showcase and a number of like Square Enix's was garbage. Capcom's was garbage. There was so little there to be excited about. Darren, is this the death of E3 as we know it? Is E3 even going to happen this year, even as a digital thing?
It sounds like it's the death of E3. It really does sound like it is. And you know what? Like obviously, as someone who has not been a part of E3, like the industry for very long, like I'm just looking at it from an outsider, and from an outsider's perspective, yeah, I'm going to be sentimental and I'm going to miss it because I did really enjoy the hype around it and like looking at what's coming and being excited for video games. That part I will miss. But like from my understanding, a lot of the industry actively hated E3. Like they thought it was a big pain. They didn't like being a part of it. It put a lot of stress on developers to try and make like trailers and demos and stuff like that when the game's not necessarily ready for prime time. It was just a big hassle for a lot of people. So you know what? I think it's probably for the best that it goes away and that developers and publishers just move to, systems where they announce games when they're ready to be announced. And we don't make a big, giant, pageantry filled show about it.
Well, the thing is, like, I agree with you. Like, especially a lot of times developers would take a lot of time to make vertical slices for games that they would never actually use, although it was just, like a sizzle thing. And E3 has been in hot water for a long time between its, the fucking, what was it, Watch Dogs of yore, where, people were constantly comparing E3 trailers to anything that came after. I mean, Jeff Keighley with Summer Game Fest now and the Game Awards, and like and all the major developers and publishers doing their own thing at whenever the fuck they want to do it. E3's become kind of an antiquated space. As much as I love it, as much as I love the hype around it, as much as I love the grind that we put in for it this year, it kind of seems like I feel like E3 needs to go away. Especially because I know how problematic the ESA is as well. Apparently, there's been a lot of talk about how shitty of a company and how shitty of a it is to work with them and how difficult they are. I think it's time for it to go away. I think it's like if it comes back, I could totally see it coming back in 3 or 4 or 5 years from now with hopefully new management and stuff in a different form. Because right now, if they're going to do what they did last year, don't show up. Yeah. Don't show up. There's no need for it.
Yeah, I agree.
As sad as that makes me. Yeah, as sad as that makes me, because I do love an E3.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd have more to say about this topic, but I kind of don't. It's kind of just like, I guess it's dead. End of an era, which is disappointing. But I think that we are getting something better out of it. Like I think having a system where games are announced on the publisher's own time or whatever, I think that's probably a better system for everyone.
I agree, my friend. But once we hear more, once the official cancellation comes through, or if it doesn't, if they do decide to pivot to another digital space, you'll be sure to hear about it because we'll be talking about it. But Darren, that brings us to the end of the show, my friend. I realize we don't do this enough, so I kind of want to start doing this more. But Darren, if people want to find more of you, if they like your voice and they want to find you, where can people do that? What's your plug, Darren?
Oh my God. It's been so long since I've actually had to plug myself. You can find me on Twitter at burnout_Darren. It's not a dead page. That's right.
Yes, you can. It's not a dead page. It's full of life, liberty, and happiness. So go check it out. Destiny is at DNBC32. I'm at burnout_Matt. You can find all of our stuff at youtube.com/burnoutbrighter. You can also find Destiny over at LV1 Gaming, writing up a bunch of whole cool stuff. And you can find me over on Yumi Capri, where I co-host the PlayStation Drive with Ryan Turford every week, where we talk all about PlayStation, all about news, and a bunch of whole other stuff. So make sure you guys keep it locked, where the mental health series is starting next week. We'll have much more information for you very, very soon, including a fundraiser and some other cool stuff. So please do what you can. Oh, also very quickly before we close out, a massive thank you to everyone who donated to our Extra Life stream. I'm sorry that we couldn't finish out the entire 24 hours. We definitely will do a catch-up stream, where we're able to kind of clean that up. But thank you. We raised $320. That is massive, all going towards extra, Sick Kids Hospital here in Toronto. So thank you to anyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who took the time to come hang out with us. We really, really appreciate you and your time. All of it's going to the big, beautiful kids. So thank you for that. That brings us to the end, Darren, my good friend. We will be back next week with Destiny in full force. Get ready because shit's about to go down. We'll see you next week, everyone. Peace out.
Later. So I paused it and I have let me think about my thing I wanted to say. Right.
Mm-hmm.